awakening and convergence. So it's happening to many of us. So on one level, we have the star seeds and we have the angelics and those that are going through this initiatory process in preparation for divine reunion. And then on the other level, we have those that are very much still in 3D, 4D, who are, the 3D is very much experiencing the duality on a very 3D level. The 4D is experiencing on a very astral level. I'm receiving letters and calls from a lot of women who are saying, well, and men who are saying, wow, I'm seeing angels and demons. Whereas some of us began that process, 20 years ago, or we were born seeing angels and demons, and now we're experiencing and understanding the 5D. So it's almost like we're all operating in this together, but we're very much operating in different worlds and realities. And it's important that you stay anchored in your connection to source and your discernment and let source guide you so that you don't accidentally get on somebody else's path or trip and understand that maybe they need a hard lesson to wake up. Maybe they need to be in those environments to get those lessons, but you're being taken out because your source is saying to you, leave, go elsewhere, or don't go out that day. So these are the types of, this is how I'm seeing it. And I just think it's awesome. I think it's absolutely awesome. I'm so excited. Seth.
So Seth is here. And I thought it was really important for Seth to join us since we're talking about divine union. And just before I go there, Nina, you're absolutely right. It's important for everybody that's listening. Your awakening doesn't have to happen exactly like Nina's or mine or Jen's or Magenta's or Seth's. It all happens in perfect ways. And as the guides have shared with me, you can be awoken by a kiss on the forehead by the Father, or you can be ripped from your bed, depending on how you need to be woken up. But nobody's going to get left behind, which is awesome. And so Seth is here, who has an incredible story. We don't have too much time, but Seth, I wanted you to join us today to share your masculine perspective of your divine union with source, like how you feel connected to God, to source, to the divine, being in a masculine form in this lifetime. And I thought that might add some unique perspective for everyone who's been listening to us today. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much. And I'm really grateful that you would offer me to come on here and invite me on. I know that's a big move for everybody here. So I want to honor that and just tell you guys that I really appreciate it. But to answer your question, it's funny because as I came in and I heard what Nina was saying, and it's so much like that. I think it doesn't matter what the gender is. It doesn't matter who anybody is, what they've gone through. Something is happening that is profound. There is a new emergence of crystalline consciousness that is emerging through all of us. And to the degree that we are choosing to be in coherence with the natural rhythms of our own body is to the degree that our body, which is already in natural coherence or rhythms with these universal cycles that are in and around the earth, the cosmos, the more those start to speak to us through us, and the more we realize that I'm not who I think I am. I'm not what the world taught me I am. I am whatever this energy is that is animating my form. And the more I choose to identify with that, the less duality, the less division, the less separation, the more connection that I feel to this emergent crystalline energy that feels like the best feeling I've ever felt times infinity. And it's new. It feels like it's something that's always been, it's been evolving throughout forever in different ways through different times, but it's coming out now through all of us in a way that is new, in a way that is at the cutting edge of evolutionary potential for each one of us. And to me, that couldn't be more exciting. Like Nina was saying, it's so exciting. It's like, oh my God, and I get it. A lot of people are stuck and they're suffering and they're going through their stuff. And that's what we're here to help them remember. But oh my God, it can shift so fast. I mean, you can go from victim to victor in the blink of an eye if you just understand a few of these fundamental things. So that's kind of what I went through in a nutshell, just to tie it all together. And I'm left with a choice. Do I want to associate with this limitless aspect of my own awareness that allows me to literally feel and experience myself as connected to everybody and everything? Or do I want to be disconnected from that and stuck in the belief that I'm a person having an experience separate from everybody and everything, and accept that as reality when I know it's an illusory, temporary thing compared to the former? So
yeah, I call it the heart song. When your heart sings, you can't contain the joy and the beauty, and you find joy in the simplest of things, like, oh wow, look at the butterfly, you know. And my husband's like, it's an insect, and I'm like, but look how incredible it is. Like, Source has the most amazing creativity. Did you see, like, I posted a picture of the blue booby bird with its blue feet and its blue beak and like the little blue babies? It's just incredible. So union with Source, it's the rhythm of the universe. And I heard you say before, I think in a previous conversation, Seth, that you, when you made the transition from victim to shadow, being fully in your shadow self, to I'm going to step into this whole idea of Source, you trusted that more. So the picture they're showing me right now is like this big being that has the hand out, and I can take the hand of God to experience this whole world of unknown mystical magic, or I can stay here limited in my 3D trapped reality, and this is the only thing I can know. Where you've got, this is it.
yeah.
Magenta, you've shared that before too, about being trapped when you're not open-minded or open-hearted. When you are resistant to anything new, you literally trap yourself in a reality. Anybody else want to share?
Seth, I would love you to share about how you experienced being in a physical prison and you were not trapped in that reality, because you've actually been physically trapped in ways that none of us have experienced. And you found, you have a brilliant way of sharing this. I would love for you to share that.
Oh, thank you, Nina. Yes. So essentially, for those who don't know me or what I went through, I was physically incarcerated. I got a 5-year sentence in prison. But getting there, it was like I had 30 years of accumulated trauma, drama, karma, just all this stuff that had built up that I had never truly dealt with up until that point. And then, you know, the final nail on the head was getting arrested, indicted, sentenced, put into a physical prison where, you know, it is the ultimate ego crush, because everything you think you have and is real and all that is just shattered. It's gone. And you're left with, wow, I've been living with the illusion that I'm free, when really people or things can come and just take you out of it. And so in that place, I felt such victimization. I felt such loss. There was so much pain and disconnect. And I knew that I would continue to just spiral downward. And, you know, everything in my environment reflected back, okay, keep being worse, feel bad about yourself, feel worse, feel like, you know, because that's how everybody else feels. And I realized, I was like, wait a minute. If everything is doing this to me, or seems to be doing it to me, what if it's not? What if this is something greater? What if this has all been brought to me for me to put in a really terrible situation so that I can transmute the way it looks from the inside out? And I had just a moment of like, okay, if it is like that, then who would I have to be? What would I have to do? And I realized, well, I would have to love this place. I would have to embrace this entire experience, regardless of how it looked. And I'm like, oh my God, can I do that? Am I capable of doing that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I am capable of doing that. And I'm going to do that. And so I just kept doing it. Every trigger, every person yelling, every fight, every single thing that was serving to take me out of that, I instead almost placed like a mental reminder, like, okay, here's something that normally would make me feel really bad, but I'm going to use that as a reminder to relax even more, to feel even better. So I reversed the cues that normally would stress people out and put them in a state of fight or flight. And I use them as a reminder to self-illuminate, to self-empower. And I just kept doing that over and over and over. And I realized as I was doing that, I was creating a bridge between my conscious awareness of self and the subconscious reality of all the traumas that had accumulated in me that I didn't even realize were there. And so I was creating a bridge of conscious coherence between my conscious awareness and the subconscious. And that allowed me to feel whole again. It allowed me to get in alignment with the natural rhythms of my body, the coherence of my body. And that began activating all these dormant energy centers that were in my mind and body. And as a result of that, it just kept going, where I began to link the conscious and the unconscious aspects of my own human cognition in alignment with these greater celestial cycles that are happening. And after that, I was not in a prison. I was not anywhere where anybody could hurt me. I was literally just enveloped in, we call it love because there's nothing else to really call it, but it's what love truly comes from. It is a state of being that we truly are, when we're not stuck in the victimized, small, egoic, oh, this woe is me type attitude. And when we realize, you know what, I am greater than who I think I am. I'm greater than all the stories that I've ever heard or that I've ever believed about myself. And I may not be able to articulate it with my human senses, but I know and I trust it's there. And no matter what it takes, I'm going to live fully from that place. And it was just doing that over and over and over. And then eventually it happened.
Because with your mindset previous to this, right, Seth, you had created a prison in your own mind first, and it's so interesting that you literally manifested that experience, which was what you just took us through. And would you share though, when you made that change in your own being, and you are swimming in this beautiful soup of quantum love in that environment, how did that change what you witnessed around you and how people perceived you as you were radiating the frequency of love through your own natural rhythms and your heartbeat and your frequency, your energetic field?
Yeah, first of all, like it's a reminder, like we are all so much more powerful than anybody or anything has ever given us credit for. And so because we don't know that, we just keep going on recreating kind of the same things that we're used to creating, which is why a lot of people don't experience really anything dramatic in their life or any great changes because they're stuck in it. But when we realize that we're not who we think we are, and that this isn't what it appears to be, and that this energy that's animating our being and causing our heart to beat is actually what we really are. And when we choose to focus our human awareness on that, prioritize that, place value on that more than placing value on the things outside of us, then that energy begins to reveal itself for what it truly is. It's a priceless gift of life that is allowing us all to be here. And if we had any idea, we would be just on our knees in the highest state of gratitude, because it's literally such a fine line that allows all of this to happen. But we take it for granted. We're just whatever. But as a result of me committing to that and being in that state and just being enveloped by it and learning how to love my own life and others around me in it, I began experiencing a level of what we call coherence, heart, brain, whole body, whole soul coherence, where it's not just the heart and brain that's in coherence. It's all the organs of the body that are in coherence. And when that happens, you, as the person you believe yourself to be, start to identify more with the energy field that you actually are, instead of the human identity that you previously identified with. And when that happens, the dam breaks loose. You're no longer damned and stuck in this very limited sort of perception. And that coherence just becomes your entire being. It's in you, it's around you. We are literally a living geometric field animating a human form. And when you're in that level of crystalline coherence, which even though it sounds out there, it's not. It's very much in here, and it's very much something that everybody can access once they understand a few fundamentals. But when an individual is in that state and they're sustaining that state and they're holding it, then the people around them cannot help but feel it, be aware of it, or just go away from it. And that's what I witnessed. And I watched so many men who, you know, I would have thought would never know or care about being in a state of universal love, interested. They're like, what is this? How is this happening? Like, what is going on? What are you doing, man? You know, they'd be like that. And I would just tell them, it's not me, it's you. It is a part of you that is aware of the same part that I'm aware of inside of myself. And we're just able to reflect that back to one another to the degree that we recognize that holds more value than the past, than the stories, than the beliefs, than the human identity that we are so invested in. We're reinvesting our attention into something that is truly priceless and limitless. And you've been investing your attention in something that's very limited and has a low value. So.
Beautifully said. Absolutely beautifully said. I want to ask Magenta, when you see someone talking about geometric structure, because of course this is magnetics, right? We're an electromagnetic energy field. When an individual shifts their consciousness, their heart opens, Magenta, and they shift to a unified consciousness, what, in your psychic ability, what does the field, like what are the subtle changes in the field, if you're able to articulate that from how you might view? And then I'm going to ask Nina and Jen the same question. What do you see psychically?
Well, there are so many different ways of perceiving that, and every single way you perceive it will be subjective. But for me, I work with the nine, teach me how to, that toroidal field that Seth's talking about, how to break that down into an architectural structure. So they show me a matrix. So we have the pillar of light, the vertical pillar, the horizontal pillar, and the diagonal lines coming through as infinite lines or axis, if you will. And then in order to give structure to that architectural design, we would put a boundary around it, which they call the event horizon, which doesn't actually exist, but it allows us to have balance and structure, and allows us to measure that architecture. And then we obviously have a core point to that, which would be the heart, but that also involves the solar plexus as well. So I look at that field. When I first woke up psychically back in 1993, well, actually probably somewhat before that, but around 1993, I would just see the sacred cross, just the pillar, and so just the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. I would just see that. Obviously now I've built that up with my teachings with the nine, the things that they've taught me to see this full matrix. So I look at that, and when someone is in trauma, you know, you might see that the axis is bent a little bit, or the horizontal line is not complete, or it's not an aligned color, or that there's a bit missing on the diagonal line. When somebody comes into fullness, into that crystalline coherence that Seth is talking about, you literally will see a crystalline structure. So the actual axis will light up. It will be like white light. You can see diamonds and emeralds and rubies within each of the axis. You might actually see someone, and I might see wings grow out from them. I see various kinds of wings, different kinds of wings on individuals. Sometimes I'll see animals behind them, but often it will be the axis. And when somebody wakes up into that coherence, there will be a balanced matrix. There will be a straight axis, the vertical, the horizontal, the diagonal. They will all be in alignment as an architectural structure. And when somebody becomes aware of using that as architecture, they can create that for themselves. When somebody isn't in that awareness, then the colors will be dull, things will be different and warped and twisted and all sorts. I mean, I've seen people very ill without them knowing that they were ill. And I've been able to see, now the matrix would present to me in that respect as not non-existent, but it would be difficult to even see the formation of that architecture. And all I would see is kind of like a sort of a hazy dark energy, but not a dark energy as in an infiltration, but the illness within them that they're not aware of. There are so many different ways of perceiving someone psychically. When I used to do individual readings, so I'd see individual clients for one-on-one sessions, I would always look at their photograph before I did the session, so I could read their energy before we met. And I would often sort of open up their photograph, and instantly I would see that matrix, and I would see where the distortions were and where the traumas were, what had happened in their past, what they needed to do to align with the best possible future for them. But some people were so in alignment with that coherence, that crystalline energy, that I would literally open up their photograph, and because I'd opened up my psychic sight, if you will, before I opened the photo, the light would be blinding from their photograph, and I would think, wow, why is this person coming to see me? They're like so aligned and so bright. And so I would always, so often the color, the light levels, and the shape. It's color and shape, geometry and light. That's how I would perceive that. And as I said, everyone will see something completely unique.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. It's always have perspective. Nina, would you like to share what you see? Please.
I would love to. Well, I see things very similar to how Magenta described. I would just add that I became aware in being very psychic that everyone is their own walking version of the Akashic records. And if you have the ability to read someone's cellular and soul movie, often when I work with someone, I will see certain areas that will light up or be highlighted. So I might see a symbol, I might see a color, I might see twisted rope. And as I go over to this area, then the entire picture show of what this is related to comes through, what this, and then the next, and then the next. So it's like, I say I track the matrix field to reprogram and re-download and reconnect. So I will see things like metallic, or maybe wires, lots of wires sticking out. Often this is connected to Atlantean inversions or DNA or cellular hijacking. There's been times when I've seen someone and they're completely almost artificially intelligent on one entire side of the body, which tells me, oh, and it's always different too. So I do find there are patterns. And so after you've done this for a while, you see certain symbols, you see certain colors, you feel certain frequencies, because you learn to read the frequencies and translate them. So you understand, okay, this is that which is connected to this. And so I will say that after many, many years, I have found there to be similar patterns in the collective and in the traumas that we have experienced, because we are all connected to that one aspect of the Akashic record of all of the experiences that we've had together. But when it changes, it's really quite amazing, because it's like I will see lights lighting up different areas. I will see new energetic rays coming in, energy colors. It's really like a light language level, as I'm doing this with my hands right now. It's really how I experience it. And when I'm working with someone even, and I'm watching the energy coming in, my hands will start moving, because it's like they are being rethreaded and rewired. And it's the same when I work with my voice. It's doing the same exact thing. It is reharmonizing all of the different notes or all of the different structures together. And as Magenta said, when this happens, what is so beautiful about it that I give thanks for after every session is that as I see this individual in their more 5D consciousness, higher self, I get to experience more of myself in that, because I am connected to all of that, and their healing is my healing. And it's always a reflection and a representation of also the exact piece that I have been asking about, or clients have been asking me about, or the current wave that the consciousness is going into in the shadow or awakening from. Like, a lot has been coming up recently around union and divine union. But it's so beautiful to watch someone go from being like shut down or warped in this area to watching them just bloom. And often it's crowning or wings, radiance, diamond light, images, scents. It helps you understand really, when they're in their 5D consciousness, what their role is connected to. So are they carrying more of an indigo frequency, or more of a rose ray frequency, or more of a violet frequency? Because as Jen said, we are all fractals of this diamond. And so when we come into alignment with that, that person gets to sing like they are a crystal, and they get to sing, and they get to be in this radiance and resonate what their specific frequency or their heart song was created to be, to serve source. And I do feel that as this occurs, and as more and more of this is occurring for all of us, we're creating this collective orchestra of collective heart song, which is how we ascend, and is a part of that great event that is happening when we all come online essentially together.
Thank you, Nina. Jen, we'll take a couple minutes if you want to share, and then I'll share, and then we'll wrap up, because I think we're getting close to time. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, like, I really, really deeply acknowledge Seth, and thank you so much, brother. It's so beautiful to meet you, and you really touched me so deeply with your words, and it really made me cry. And I'm just so honoured to share this space with you. Thank you. And that was such a wonderful question that you asked, Nina. Thank you so much. It was just jaw-dropping. It really, really was. And I'd love you to come on my podcast, because I really want to go deep with you and explore like what you're talking about, because it's so important. And I just think it's so important for men to hear you, and to have that masculine voice speaking in the way that you speak. It's like, it's nectar and it's medicine. And I really want to invite you onto my platform, and to share your wisdom. So thank you so much, brother. I'm so honored to meet you. I really, really am. And so that's why I put my little hand up. I just wanted to say thank you, Seth.
Oh, thank you, Jen.
And so with myself, when my third eye blasted open on top of the mountain, I suddenly had access to Akashic records. So I'd meet someone, and then I would just know what was going on. I'd know about their past lives. I'd know about their major blocks. I'd be able to pull through what their major lessons were in this lifetime, and what their major gifts were. And it's not like I don't see geometric shapes. It's just a knowing. It's just like a deep voice within me that, and it's like visions as well. I'll receive like inner gnosis, and I just generally like on the money. It's like hitting the bullseye every single time. And I apply this to my sessions as well. So I'll give like soul readings, and so I'll be able to like pull through whatever's going on. Like, what is your major block? What is it on a soul level that you have come to master in this lifetime? And I'll be able to assist you. And so a lot of the work that I do is working with, like, it's an aspect of soul retrieval, and it's working with the idea that, you know, being born into the matrix, we have very, very, very traumatic experiences being born with asleep parents. The whole society is completely asleep, which creates a very, very traumatic environment for the soul, for the spirit. And so because of that, we're so sensitive, we're so intelligent and beautiful. When we have these traumatic experiences, it can cause us to freeze on a soul level. We can just kind of like freeze, and then that can create a loop within your psyche. So you're not actually expanding until you actually go back and retrieve that part of yourself to release that part and unfreeze that part. So that, a lot of my work is about working with trauma, core trauma, and helping people identify where those ice blocks are within their evolutionary journey. So the way I kind of like pull through the information is more of an inner knowing, an inner gnosis, and vision. visions, I don't like, it's like an inner vision, but I don't really see, oh wow. But like hanging out with Magenta, I just like, because it's very rare to hang out with genuinely awakened people, like let's not beat about the bush here, but hanging out with Magenta, she's got like butterflies just flying off her aura, like like millions of butterflies. You're like a butterfly producing being, you know. So that's what I get when I'm in your presence. I just feel this amazing sense of light and higher frequencies, but it's very, very rare to be in the presence of awakened people. Let's not beat about the bush, but yeah, that's my little bit. So thank you all so much. It's amazing.
Thank you, Jen. That was a lovely share. Thank you. And I think that was important to share, because we all have our own gifts in our own unique way, right? Like I'll get a picture and I'll get like one word, and that will be enough for the other words to follow and the pictures. So I think we're at time, everybody. Thank you so much. So grateful. I'm going to stop the recording shortly. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can just wrap up.